Oh, yes. What's happening, everybody? It is Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. It is time for Ask Weezy, where you guys pop in the chat and ask me any questions that I can answer about statistics, fighters, matchups, props, money lines, prize picks props for takedowns, for fantasy score, for significant strikes. I've got all the data. I've got everything that you need in order to make an educated decision. And I make myself available to you guys on Wednesday nights so that you can ask any questions that my statistics can answer. I hope everybody's doing well tonight, and I hope everybody's ready to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 86, which is going to be headlined by Jack Hermansson and Joe Pyfer. Going to be a really great middleweight fight to finish up this card, which has 14 fights on it. So there's a lot of money-making opportunities. There's a lot of betting lines. All the prop markets have opened on Bet Online and on Bet Rivers. So we got a lot of props that we can discuss today. We could talk about track bets. We could talk about prize picks. We can talk about underdog. We could talk about anything that you want to talk about that's MMA betting related. So yeah, here we are, Wednesday night. About 2.5 days until this card starts. We've pretty much got all the lines opened up where they're going to open up, and we're going to have our opportunities available to us. Right now, I think the only bets that I have so far, and I'm definitely going to be adding more, but what I have so far is a 3-unit bet on the Dan Ige scorecards equals no action or the finish only prop at minus 200. So I'm trying to win 1.5 units there. And I've also got I've got Michael Johnson to win. I bet 1.5 units at minus 130 on that. It was supposed to be a parlay. I didn't want to lay juice on Michael Johnson. Trust me, that wasn't the plan. I parlayed him with Bolaji Oki, who wind up was supposed to fight Damir Hadzovic, but Hadzovic had visa problems, was then unable to make the fight. So now Bolaji is fighting somebody else, Timothy Kuamba, and that bet now is just a straight bet on Michael Johnson. So I've got 1.5 units on Michael Johnson at minus 130, and I got a small bet on Hader Emil to win in round 3 at plus 1,500, quarter unit bet, trying to hit a big one there. And then I'm going to be adding, I think, Jeremiah Wells to win by decision. I'm going to be adding the Dogs Are Barking pick of the week, which is going to be Bruno Brasil plus 3.5 points handicap. As soon as that opens up on DraftKings, I'm going to try to get whatever the best line is there. And there's some other spots that I'm considering. I'm considering the Dan Ige money line as well, along with the finish only prop. I'm considering a bet on Michael Johnson versus Darius Flowers to end in rounds 2 or 3. So I've got a few more things cooked up, but I'm not so much worried about what I'm cooking up this week as what you guys are looking to cook up and how I can help you get there and give you any kind of information that I have access to that you might not. So I want to say what's up to the chat and talk to you guys and see what you have for me this week. We got the prop template ready. We got the matchup stats ready. Got my whole database ready and at your disposal, you guys. So feel free to ask me anything. We've got Taya Paku in the room saying, sure, what is happening? Good to see you hanging out in here. We got my guy Pickle Kush saying, oi, what's up, Unc? In case I don't make the live, any plus 3.5s sticking out this week? Kinorna's plus 3.5 hit last week. Let's keep it going. Let's see what we got for DraftKings here. Let me sign out. And let's go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings. Give me that. Oh, damn it. Hang on. Sportsbook. All right. MMA. UFC. So we don't have point spreads for most of these. We've got Vieira Petrosian, which I don't think sees the scorecards. So plus 110. That's interesting. Plus 110, huh? I don't like that. Michael Johnson, minus 3.5, minus 105. That could be a good way to get a good number on Johnson. Let's see. Tavares, Rodriguez, don't like that. Don't like the Bridchek, Poirier, Ige, Fili, don't really care for that. Nah, man, I don't like any of these, but if I was to do one, it would be Bruno Brasil plus 3.5 at plus 115 right now on Bet Online Sportsbook. I could see Aori Kwai Lang. If that's plus money, let's see where that is on Bet Online. Kwai plus 3.5, minus 105, but his money line is plus 215. So that's too big of a gap. Yeah, I would just say the Bruno Brasil plus 3.5. That's the one I like this week, Pickle Kush. Thanks for asking, man. I hope all is well with you, brother. We got Billy Nicholson saying, Weezy, I still have PTSD from that Spivak versus Gon match. Yeah, dude, I do too. That was 2 units I had on the underdog there in Spivak. I didn't think, Gon had any takedown defense at all. And Spivak looked, it was like, it kind of reminded me of Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards, where you were like, dude, what happened to Colby Covington? Why is he not wrestling here? But yeah, that was an ugly performance. Spivak got 7 shades of shit beaten out of him by Cyril Gahn, and I lost 2 units because of it. So wasn't happy about that at all, Billy. Let's see. Question: do we have a few late notice fights? I think we see Ihor and Fili get flattened before round 3. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, like, I think if Bridchek wins, he wins in round 1. And I could see, yeah, absolutely, Dan Ige getting a first or a second round finish. That guy hits so hard, and he really commits when he throws. So, I think that Ige is a good bet this week, whether it's the money line. And I smashed that finish only prop because he's so durable. Dan Ige's never been finished as a professional, and you've seen him get cracked. It's not like the guy hasn't been dropped. It's not like the guy hasn't absorbed big shots, but over and over and over again, if he does get caught, the guy recovers extremely fast, and he's just very durable. So I love the opportunity. I probably should have max bet it. I probably should have went a full 5 units because I feel like I can trust um not only the power advantage that Ige has over Fili, but the durability advantage as well, to the point where, yeah, I think a minus 200 bet to win 2.5 units would have been a better play. But that line has gotten away now, so I'm gonna have to sit with the 3 units. But yeah, I think you're right about both of those. I think we do see Ihor and Fili get flattened before round 3. Yeah. We got Spartacus MMA in the room saying, I'm here, Uncle Weezy. What's up, dude? Good to see you hanging out. We got Jester in the room saying, cheers, Weezy. We got Taya saying, Weezy. Oi, what is happening, Taya? We got Jester with the flapjack stack right there. We got Matt A saying, Weezy, do you play poker? Gonna join your Patreon play for a living, and let's live for. Gonna Let me see. Let me see if I can read this properly here. Going to join your patron play for a living, and love your following your over rounds betting. Let's go. Appreciate that, Matt. That means a lot, dude. I used to play poker all the time back in the days of full tilt poker. Up until they seized everybody's account. I remember I had something like $5,000 in my account. I had won a couple of big tournaments. I used to play, small tournaments. I never played like at the casinos or anything like that. I just played online. But yeah, I used to love playing poker as a math guy, and a probability guy. I enjoyed playing Texas Hold'em all the time. So did something that, I like doing a lot. But appreciate if you're going to join the Patreon. That's always the best way to support my work. And we've got a great community over there. We got Six Side Worldwide saying, let's stack it like flapjacks. Appreciate you, my man. Let me know if you got any questions. We got Teopak who's saying, I'm really liking your Ige finish only prop. I've been putting in some solid hours researching this fight. I'm thinking Marcos money line plus Ige finish only prop plus 105 for the 2-leg. High confidence. I think that that's a great play. I do think Marcos gets the job done. I'm picking him to win, but I think it could be close. Quillang might wrestle a lot, and if he has any success doing that, he can make this fight kind of close. But I do like Marcos's striking a lot. The guy's got great Muay Thai, great kickboxing. So yeah, I think he gets the job done here, and I think that's a pretty safe 2-legger for plus 105. We got Matt saying fight goes to decision over 1.5, over 2.5. Such good spots. Matt, the problem with the over bets is the gamblers don't like them because if you're going to watch the fight, it's so much more terrifying to have an over bet on a fight than it is an under bet, because an under bet can cash in 10 seconds, but an over bet doesn't cash for however many minutes that you bet it over, So from what I've seen, whether it's in the prop markets, with significant strikes, fantasy score, takedowns, or whether it's with the time props for fights, the bookies are always going to shade it a little bit more to the over. I'm sorry, a little bit more to the under. They're going to make that under a little more expensive because they understand that people don't like betting overs. I don't think that there's a lot of people that do it. I think it's more of a sharp thing to bet overs. And the more the casual bettor that just watches the fights and wants to have some money on the fights that they're watching, they're more betting unders. They're picking those violent spots and they're willing to overpay for them. So you find some really good prices on over lines, and it's a great way if you don't mind having the heart attack while you're waiting for the fight to go over 12 and a half while saying no touching, hoping that they don't engage, hoping that they just stay at range and kind of just look at each other. It's a bit maddening, but I think that's why we get good numbers on over bets and why over bets long term tend to overperform the under bets due to the pricing. We got KingBicky saying, what do you consider a comfortable bankroll to quit your day job and be a full-time UFC capper? Well, I mean, like if you want to get like a 10% return on investment on your bankroll, right? Then you'd almost need like a $500,000 bankroll, to get a $50,000 return on investment over the course of a year. And a $50,000, if you've got a $500,000, you could probably do better things with your money than sit there betting fights. There are probably a lot of other investment opportunities that are a little more steady and have a lot less risk. But if you're betting $100 units, it's a good year. If you are up 50 to 100 units, that's really good. It's very hard to do to have those triple digit unit, years, right? But if you win, 100 units and your unit size is $100, you won $10,000. You're not living off of that. And then you also have to take into consideration that some of these props that you're trying to bet, if you had a full-sized bankroll, then what you're doing is you're going to be moving markets with your giant bets, and you're going to probably have a hard time getting the kind of money that you want to get down on some of these prop bets all at the same price. So it might be hard to find, bookies that'll work with you. So yeah, I think it's very difficult to make a full-time living out of just betting these fights. You probably need to have a couple of other ways to invest. But like, if you want to just concentrate on UFC, you probably shouldn't be doing other sports because the UFC is a full-time job and it works all year long. So, there's very few weeks off with UFC and there's no off season really. So, I think, what you need to do is not just make money gambling, but also have some kind of a service, where people are paying you because you're a professional. And that's when you can start to make some money off of it, when you're doing some content and getting paid for it. When you have a website that is selling some kind of information or picks, and then you have, advertisers on the website, you have affiliate links. that's when you can start to actually make all that money. You can actually have this as a full-time job. Otherwise, it's a hobby for most people. We got Jay Jack saying, yeah, oh no, Weezy. So now you can't say you bet Michael Johnson at plus money, which was the whole point of parlaying him with Bolaji. So I could just say, if it went tits up, because it's a Michael Johnson bet, and because I won't be surprised. Like, look, I might lose 1.5 units on Michael Johnson's money line this week. I might. But it's not going to be a bet where I'm sitting there going, oh, I'm all pissed off. I know exactly what I'm getting into. I know that this thing could go tits up. I know that this guy could win 13 minutes of the fight, stub his toe, and then wind up, losing the fight, or kick the dude in the face when he's down, and wind up losing the DQ. I mean, Michael Johnson finds ways to lose fights, and it's pretty inspiring how much he can look to find that opportunity to lose, just find it when it presents itself. So yeah, now I've laid juice on Michael Johnson, and I just have to, it was a parlay, but now it's not. So there it is. I've got to be okay with it. I got to be zen about it. And if it doesn't cash, I just got to say we're moving on to the next one. Well, we got Jester saying Wells money line plus the Pyfer money line. You're getting plus money on that, plus 128. So I'm picking Jeremiah Wells by decision, and I'm picking Joe Pyfer to win by second round knockout. So I think it hits. But I kind of like the number on Hermansson. The line is wide. When I think Hermansson's probably the better grappler, I think he's probably the better wrestler. He's definitely more experienced, and he's fought the better brand of competition. So, and the ground and pound that Hermansson has, in the submission game that he has as well. He's very dangerous on the mat. But all the rounds start on the feet, and Pyfer the guy looks like he could punch a hole through a wall. So it's going to be a fun fight, but I think that hits Jester. We got Taya saying if Marcos wins and I'm up units, it's an easy Fili inside the distance hedge for guaranteed profits. I wouldn't even hedge it, Taya. I think you got a great bet there at plus 105, and you can count on the durability of Dan Ige. I mean, I really believe that. I think it's maybe a 10% outcome, maybe less than 10%, that anybody finishes this guy, much less Andre Fili. Look at the guys that he's faced. Like Edson Barbosa was hitting him hard, had him in trouble a couple of times. Ige just gets right back. I mean, the guy's recoverability is phenomenal. So, I mean, I think you got a great spot there, and I think you should just roll with it. Even if Marcos wins comfortably, just roll with it. That finish only prop for Ige is either you're getting your money back or it's cashing. So, Jeff Bruno in the room saying, yo, Weezy, every time I set up a parlay with Bet Online, I get some selections can't be currently combined. Do you have this issue too? Yes, I do. But what you can do on Bet Online, and I'll show you, this is important, right? You can parlay anything on the main page, right? So, like, for instance, if you want, say, to parlay Zach Pauga's money line, let's say, with Bruno Brasil, Loma Lukbunmi, fight goes to decision. You can't do that, but you can parlay that over 2.5 at minus 215 with the Zach Pauga money line. So you can do the total and the money line. They'll let you parlay those, anything that's on this main page. But once you start like clicking in here, you cannot parlay goes the distance. You cannot parlay method of victory. You can't parlay any of that stuff on Bet Online. But you can put together 2, 3, 4 leg parlays as long as they're just money lines or the total for the fight. So yeah, I've always had that problem, but I was giddy when I found out, because I do like to, every once in a while, they'll put out some stuff and I'll be like, oh, I like this fighter to win, but I'm not laying minus 270, But if I can find those like minus 250, a minus 270, and then a total that I like, parlay those three, you get plus money, and you can throw it together on Bet Online and beat some line movement if you get it earlier in the week. So that's the best place to parlay Bet Online, is when you catch those openers and there are 2 or 3 that are juiced to the tits that aren't overpriced according to how you price your bets. that's when you can find some nice spots to parlay on Bet Online, but it's just the money line and the total. Jay Jack says he really likes Ige and Clark. I'm picking both to win. And I think it's a good fight for Devin Clark because, I kind of, I feel like, so I was wrong about Thomas Peterson last week, right? But my read on Peterson is that he was going to win if he got the wrestling going. And we saw what happened. He got him down in the first round. Pogues did not get back up. And he did some really good work for like the last 30 to 45 seconds of round number one. And he won round number one on 2 out of the 3 judges' scorecards because of that good work that he did on the ground. But my read, the reason I was willing to lay juice on him was I felt like even at distance striking range, even if Thomas didn't get the takedowns, that Pogues was going to be the better boxer, but he wasn't going to be more dangerous. As a matter of fact, I think even Pogues has worse power than Thomas Peterson on the feet. And we saw it play out. Pogues won the last 2 rounds on the judges' scorecards, but it wasn't like he ran away with it. Thomas actually kept it close on the feet. And I kind of feel the same way here because, yeah, Prochnio is definitely the better striker than Devin Clark. But if you look at it, Devin's got more power. Devin swings for the fences. And because you have to worry about the wrestling threat as well from Devin Clark, that makes it more likely that you're going to wind up landing that big shot on the feet. So you see wrestlers that aren't great strikers getting knockdowns all the time, and it's because the people are more worried about the shot than the strikes that are coming at them. So they're going to land stuff that people who would never shoot a takedown would never land because the fighter would see it coming and they would adjust instead of worrying more about the takedown. So I kind of feel like Clark can maybe win enough moments on the feet to actually win a round at distance striking range against Prochnio. But I also know that Devin Clark is a high volume wrestler and he lives in the clinch as well. And he's got that strong lower half so that he can keep you there. And I see him being able to grind in the clinch and win minutes there. I see him being able to win minutes with his wrestling, of course, and top control and ground and pound. But I also see him potentially winning moments on the feet because he's the more proven and powerful striker, because we've seen Devin Clark land a bunch of knockdowns while we haven't seen that from Prochnio yet. The only guy that he's knocked down, I believe, or knocked out is Ike Villanueva. So much different matchup. I agree with you, J Jack. I like both of them. We got EQ in the room saying, oh, yes, let's go. We got Matt saying, feel like Weezy's data mind will be well suited for card games. Yeah, I did pretty well when I used to play poker. I mean, I think that an understanding of probability and statistics when you've only got a 52 card deck, can let you know always what you're up against. And I think that I brought a lot of that thinking that I used to do when I played poker and kind of tried to use those same probability and statistics backbone for decision making over to my MMA betting. We got TH in the room saying, what's up, Unc? What are your favorite prize picks this week? So on prize picks, what I liked this week was, okay, so first let me show you, I like the Devin Clark under for significant strikes. And so this is my significant strike template here. So right here are the prize picks numbers. Oh, I'm sorry. It's this, and this. Now, 45.5 significant strikes. The threshold for a 2-leg prize picks play is 57%. We need to be 57% confident. And this is significant strike overs that we're looking at here. So we can always determine what the under is like just by looking at the over data. Now, Devin Clark, 46 or more significant strikes. He's done that in 4 of 15 fights. He's landed that many. Prochnio on defense has allowed 46 or more significant strikes in only 2 of his 8 UFC fights. So if we add that up, it's 6 of 23 or 26. Oh shit, I'm not even sharing my screen with you guys. I'm sorry. So we can see here Devin Clark 4 of 15 on offense. In his 15 UFC fights that were scheduled for 3 rounds, only 4 of them went over 46 significant strikes. Prochnio, only 2 of 8 of his fights is he allowed more than 46. So that's a 26% combined in 23 fights. Have we seen Clark land more or Prochnio absorb more, 46 or more significant strikes? Also, the winning fighter in the history of the 205-pound division has gotten more than 45 and a half significant strikes, only 36.36% of the time. And the loser gets that number about 19.65% of the time. So on average, only about 28% of fighters are getting that number. So 26% of their combined UFC histories is that number being crested. Only 28% on average over the history of the division since 2013 is that happening. In addition, we can see that Devin Clark averages 2.99 significant strikes per minute, and Prochnio absorbs 3.25 per minute. When we absorb that, or I'm sorry, when we do a weighted average of that, we're getting 3.07 significant strikes landed per minute. So 3.07 times 15 is 46.05. So right now, at the current average, this fight would have to go 15 minutes. And even if it did, it would still land only 46 significant strikes. So it would cover literally by a half strike. And there's a pretty high probability, at least 40%, that this fight doesn't go to decision. So I think with Devin Clark, especially against a guy like Prochnio, who we know is a kickboxer, Clark's going to wrestle. He's going to put him up against the fence. He's only landing 2.52 clinch and ground strikes per minute. So, the more time that he spends in the clinch on the ground, the lower the likelihood is that he's going to get that number. So I like Devin Clark under 45 and a half significant strikes. And we were doing the, where is Devin Clark here? Check. There he is. So we can do less than 45 and a half significant strikes. I like Haider Ramil more than 54 and a half significant strikes. We look here at Fernie Garcia's UFC stats. He's absorbing only 2.49 significant strikes per minute, but he's in control time positions about 47% of the time. At distance, he's absorbing almost 4 significant strikes per minute, 3.84. Now, Haider Ramil is a pressure fighter. Haider Ramil stays in your face, walks forward, throws a ton of volume, and never stops. Doesn't let you take a breath, and he is constantly throwing. So what I've seen on tape leads me to believe that Haider gets over this number. Now, we want to see what we're up against. Now, this is a featherweight fight. So let me get my Prize Picks Analytics spreadsheet here. We're going to go to the featherweight division, and we're just going to see what we're up against. Oh, damn it. 145. And we're going to look at the history of the division. And we're looking at 54 and a half. So 36% of the winners and about 19% of the losers get 55 or more significant strikes in this division. So that's only at 27% of the total fighters in this division. So that's a pretty high metric. But like I say, Fernie Garcia, all 3 of his UFC fights have went to decision. So there's a high probability that we see at least 10 minutes of fight time in this one. And Haider Ramil isn't finishing a lot of guys in the first round. I think that the unusually high pace of Haider, combined with the fact that he usually does not wrestle that much, so we're going to see this be at distance striking range where we get more significant strikes landed per minute, that we're going to see over this number of 54.5. So I like Haider Ramil over 54 and a half significant strikes. More. I like, so Brady and Gordo both wanted to give the Haider Ramil more than 54 and a half significant strikes. I think Brady gave Jeremiah Wells over 1.5 takedowns. And I like that as well because Jeremiah goes for a ton of takedowns. 8.95 takedown attempts per 15 minutes. Max Griffin is used to seeing about 3.58, which is right about the divisional average, but he's allowing 1.09. Now, Jeremiah Wells is averaging 3.89. So I think when we take a weighted average there, we're going to see that number be around 2. And because of that, I think that Jeremiah Wells with those 9 takedown attempts, and the fact that he only spends 20%, if you could see that number right there, 20% of Jeremiah Wells' 38 minutes in the UFC octagon is spent at distance striking range. He's clearly not comfortable there. So I think he's going to be clinching up, and I think he's going to be trying to get Max Griffin to the ground. And he's got 43% takedown accuracy. Max Griffin about 70% takedown defense. So I like Jeremiah because I like this fight to go to decision, and because I think that Jeremiah Wells is going to want to grapple here. I like the over 1.5 takedowns for Jeremiah Wells. And then Monk, what did Monk have? Let me get the Prize Picks play up here. I think he had a significant strike one. Oh shit! What did he have? Dan Ige. Kind of like the Ige under for significant strikes. And now I forget what Monk gave us on the show, but this is a good 3-legger in my opinion. Devin Clark less than 45.5 significant strikes. Hyder Emil more than 54.5 significant strikes. Jeremiah Wells more than 1.5 takedowns, and whatever Monk had, I liked as well. So I think that this is a pretty good look here. And we would make it a why is this a flex play? Yeah, we're making a power play. So yeah, it would be a 5-to-1 payout. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at for this week for Prize Picks. Caddy Daddy saying, "Oi, what is up, Caddy Daddy?" We got Taya saying he plays $100 units, up 53 units last year, putting in 30 to 50 hours study per week. Still very volatile. There are some weeks where I get completely shit on. Still need another source of income. Yeah, it's something that you do. It's a hobby. But I think if you go in with the idea, I'm going to make a living off of this, you're probably going to run into a dick saw because there are ups and downs. You're going to have losing streaks. You see some of the best gamblers out there on YouTube, guys that have made so many more units than me. They get shit hammered during some points just because they get cold. Guys get cold. It happens. So, it is volatile. And at the end of the day, you're still putting your faith in other people. You're still betting that somebody's going to, execute the game plan that you think that they're going to execute. And if they're injured, you don't know about it. If they're thinking about retirement and their heart isn't in it, you don't know about it. So, yeah, man, I think that trying to make a living out of doing this is a very, very risky thing. And I think a lot of people would fail at it. Swinger in the room. What is happening? Swinger saying, Uncle Weezy, who you got for the Super Bowl? I think the best coach in the game is Shanahan's son. So I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl this year. I think that they are the superior team. We got KingBicky saying, thanks, Unc. I really like Dan's power, but Fili has some sneaky grappling transitions. How does Dan deal with the grappling? Well, Dan's seen a lot of takedown attempts, and he's seen a lot of grappling heavy game plans in his day. Guys like Bryce Mitchell, guys like Movsar Evloev. Mirsad Bektic is an absolute crotch sniffer. Took him down 3 times. Chan Sung Jung took him down 3 times. Movsar Evloev took him down 9 times. Bryce Mitchell took him down 5 times. So we've definitely seen these guys go out there and try to take him down. But Fili, while he is a wrestler, but he's a kickboxer first. So Fili does a good job of mixing in the wrestling when he's got a big ground advantage over his opponent. But Dan Ige is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. He's never been submitted. He's very hard to take down and hold down. And while guys like Evloev and Mitchell, that's the entirety of their game. Same thing with Bektic. Fili's a lot more versatile. Fili's a lot more well-rounded, very experienced guy. He can win minutes anywhere and moments. So, with his grappling, with his striking. So I don't think we're going to see Fili bring that kind of a game plan into the cage against Ige. Because what I think happens is Ige stuffs the takedowns. Fili gets tired, and then Ige knocks him out. Because he gets tired from wrestling too much. So I think Dan will deal fine with the little bit of grappling that he sees from Andre Fili. We got Ben Ryder in the room saying, if you could have lunch with any UFC fighter, who would it be? Man, that's a great question. I would definitely consider Colby Covington, because I thought the way that he kind of resurrected his career by using his personality instead of the way that he fought. I think it's fascinating when you hear Colby say that, when he was about to fight Damian Maia, the UFC told him, whether you win or lose this fight, you're going to be cut. People don't care about your fights. And then he went out there, he beat Maia, and then he told the entire Brazilian crowd, that your country's a dump. I hate this place, whatever. I mean, he said horrible things about Brazil, and, he almost got killed trying to get out of that country. I mean, like, he pissed everybody in Brazil off. But it finally got people talking about him. And then people cared about his fights all of a sudden. And he brought on this personality and kind of created this character, which is one of the most memorable parts of what we do watching this sport. Colby Covington's antics are a big part of it. I think that it would be really interesting to have dinner with a guy like that. I think Kevin Holland is a super interesting dude. And I mean, I just think it would be super fun to hang out with Kevin Holland for a night and have dinner with that dude, because he just seems like a guy that completely, flies by the seat of his pants. Like, you could probably like if you were persistent and persuasive enough, like, I think you could sit down with Kevin Holland and like convince him like that he needs to be an accountant, and like he'd be in school probably learning to be an accountant, because like I feel like he's the kind of guy that could just shift on a dime and be like, you know what, I'm doing this now. And then like one of the recent fighters that I've seen that I think is really interesting is that kid Peyton Talbot. I think having dinner with Peyton Talbot would be super interesting. Like the performances that he's had so far, I think he's a really interesting kid. And he just seems completely different, like a really interesting individual. So I think those would be three names, Colby, Kevin Holland, Peyton Talbot. I think that they would all be really interesting people to have dinner with, for sure, man. Oh yeah, drop those refer a friend links in your video description. I'll do that, Jester. I'm going to start doing that next week for sure. Let's get that going for sure. Yeah, I'll start mentioning that. Yeah, sign up on Prize Picks. Get your Uncle Weezy some free cash, and then we'll make money on Prize Picks together using all these baller ass analytics that I got. Thoughts on Gregory Rodriguez under 12 and a half minutes of fight time? So here is the prop template. And where do we got it? There it is. Tavares Rodriguez. Now, Gregory Rodriguez, a lot of his fights, 5 of his 7 UFC fights have finished inside the distance, but it's only 5 of 17 for Brad Tavares. And it's the same numbers for under 12 and a half minutes, which is the under 2.5 here. So right now, the books have that under 2.5 around plus 110. So they're saying it's about a 47% chance that it happens. And keep in mind, you know, with Prize Picks, a two-legger, you got a 57% threshold. 57.74% times 57.74% equals 1/3. Here, wait. 0.5774 squared equals 0.33333, 1/3, which is basically the payout. It's a 200 betting line, which is what you're getting on any two prong Prize Picks play. Now, only 5 of 17 of Tavares' fights have went under 2.5, but 5 of 7 for Rodriguez, right? So while it's only about 30%, you know, for Tavares, under the Rodriguez is more like 70%. And you have to kind of figure out, when you have the decisionator against the finisher, which one of these guys gets their fight, which one of these guys sets the pace. And in this case, I think it's Gregory Rodriguez. When I look at these fights, you like to kind of look at who has advantages on paper, right? And with Rodriguez, he's 4 years younger. He's faster than Brad Tavares at this point in his career. He's taller and he's longer. He throws more volume at distance, and he lands more knockdowns at distance. So we can look into the stylistic matchups and talk about who's going to land more calf kicks, who's going to go to the body more, conditioning, you know, who feints more, who's going to, you know, who's going to bite on the feints, all that kind of shit that's harder to quantify. But right here, we've got, you know, we know 41.67% of their combined 24 fights have finished under 2.5. That's not a great number, you know, that you're up against there. And you know, with a Rodriguez Tavares fight, that you're probably not getting a finish out of Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares has finished one of his wins, 9%, one of 11 wins since 2013. So he's not really a finisher. So I just kind of feel like, instead of playing a Rodriguez under 12.5, I'd rather play Gregory Rodriguez and under 2.5, like over on, let's find the Rodriguez fight here. Like, you can bet on Fight Parlays, I think it is. Gregory Rodriguez. Oh, this is the one. They only have 1.5. Damn it. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I think Gregory does get him out of there, but I don't love the number. KingBicky saying, what's Fili's over under takedowns on Prize Picks? Fili's the underdog, so they don't have anything for him, I don't think. Takedowns. Yes, nothing for Fili. Nothing for Ige either. So yeah, nothing yet. They will only pick a few fights for takedown props usually. Will my new tool be included in the $20 Patreon? So what the $20 Patreon, which is going to be $25 going forward, but everybody that's already on the $20 Patreon will be grandfathered in at that price. What it's going to have access to is, you're going to have the advanced stats here for every fighter, right? So like for every fighter on the card, for this is Devin Clark and Marcin Prachnio, you're going to have a page with each of them, with their win-loss record in the UFC, with their offensive significant striking stats, defensive significant striking stats, offensive and defensive distance striking stats, offensive and defensive clinch and ground striking stats, offensive and defensive grappling stats, and then it's going to come with this offensive and defensive DFS statistics page, which is going to include DraftKings. And for DraftKings, we have work rate per minute, and then we have the work rate spread into striking work rate and grappling work rate, how many points they score per minute in grappling exchanges and then in striking exchanges, the percent of their output that comes from that, the offensive stats per fight, points scored per fight, points scored per win, bonus points per win, points scored per loss, the defensive numbers of both of those, and then the pace stats for both fighters included, how many points per fight, total grappling work rate, total striking work rate, the total work rate combined, for DraftKings, FanDuel, Prize Picks, and Underdog. It's going to have the fighters fight by fight stats. And then we're going to have the advanced matchup template, which we already have on the original Patreon. There's going to be the prop template included with that, which is going to have your fight doesn't go to decision bets, under 2.5, fight doesn't start round 3, under 1.5, fight doesn't start round 2. Analytics for the overs and the unders and the fighters' performances. So the prop template's going to be included too. And then there's going to be this really cool new betting template, which right now is sort of looking like this. And what it's going to have is the inside the distance bet for each fighter, right? The KO bet for each fighter, the submission bet for each fighter. We're going to take those betting lines, we're going to convert them into implied probabilities. We're going to compare them against divisional benchmarks. And it's going to include, fighter A for the inside the distance bet. We're going to see how many of their how many of their wins come inside the distance. And we're also going to look at fighter B and how many of their losses were finishes. We're going to sum those totals, compare them against the implied probability of the line, compare them against the benchmark for the division to determine the same way we determine value for these over-under props, right? We're gonna now start doing it the exact same way for inside the distance bets, for decision bets for both fighters. And we're going to be, it's going to be a great tool. So that's all the stuff that's going to be included on the $25 tier. And then if you want all the prize pick stuff, that's going to be a lot more expensive because that kind of analytics is just not available to anybody. So I think that that's going to be a premium thing that I really don't want that getting out to a lot of people, because that's the kind of stuff that could kind of get back to Prize Picks or Underdog and make them sharper with their model building. Because I think the model building that I'm doing with these props, with the data that I have access to right now, it's innovative. It's different. It's different than what anybody else is doing right now. So the significant strike templates like you see here, the takedown templates like you see here, the fantasy score templates for Prize Picks and Underdog that you see here. That's going to be probably $50 a month. And I don't think we'll probably have more than 10 people signing up to something like that because of the cost. But also, I don't want these kind of analytics getting out to people because it could make Prize Picks sharpen up their markets, which reduces our edge. But I'm very excited about this product. I just need to finish this betting page here that I just showed you. Once I finish this page, that'll get embedded into the sheet. And the $25 a month package will have the prop template, the betting template, the advanced stats for both fighters, and the matchup stats. And then the $50 a month is going to also have the Prize Picks and the Underdog templates for significant strikes, fantasy score, and takedowns. What is up to my guy Gogo Flamingo in the room saying, just wanted to say what's up, Unc. It's good to see you hanging out in here, Gogo. Let me know if you got any questions. We got Taya saying with the Vieira fight, I don't think there's any value in Vieira's money line. I like the sub prop though at plus 180. It's probably the only way he gets it done. I don't think he's got the cardio to get the decision. I could see him getting takedowns. And because his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is so good, Taya, and because his top game, which he's known for, that's how he won his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu matches, was not from his back, but from his top game. His top game was so good that I think you could see him get takedowns and a ton of control time without getting submissions and banking a couple of rounds with his wrestling, but not necessarily by finishing the submission. So I kind of like the Vieira money line more than I like the Vieira submission prop, because I think it takes into account the fact that, in my opinion, his decision equity is about almost as big as his submission equity in this particular spot. Yeah, dude, I got rinsed last week, Gogo. I was down 5.1 units. If you want to see a rinsing, let's just bring up the internet and let's just talk about 5.1 units to the downside. Peterson Pogues, fight doesn't go to decision, down 1.15. Rodriguez by KO round 1, down 0.25. Stoliarenko submission round 1, down 0.5 units. Scorecards no action for Dolidze is a push. Natalia Silva to win in round 3, down 0.25 units. Builder to win in round 3, down 0.25 units. Thomas Peterson, money line, down 3.5 units. Blake Builder, money line, down 1 unit. And then Charlie Radke, thank Ja for the Chicago product, the Valley Flow striking product. Charlie Chuck Buffalo Radke, 1 unit at plus 180. Gets me a 1.8 unit win. I got rinsed. So we got to get it back, or at least some of it back this week, Go. Taya saying, okay, thanks for that. Great angle to look at it. Appreciate you, Taya. Yeah, so I like that prize picks play, you guys. Jeremiah Wells, more than 1.5 takedowns. Hader Ramil, more than 54.5 significant strikes. And then Devin Clark, less than 45.5 significant strikes. I think they're all great looks. I didn't have time to make templates for all the fights, but I know that Devin Clark, I looked at it with my eyes and I said, oh man, I think Devin Clark only lands about 3 significant strikes per minute. So to put it at 45 is just assuming that it goes the distance. And even then, it would be very close if he was to land more than 46. So yeah, I like this 3-legger. I think it works. Is the plus minus points on DraftKings void if there is a finish? No. So if you're plus 3.5 and your fighter gets finished, you lose the bet. If you're plus 3.5 and your fighter wins by finish, you win the bet. It's just the points handicap goes out the window if there's a finish. And it just, if your fighter that you bet on for the points handicap won by finish, you won the bet. And if they lost by finish, you lost the bet. And then if it goes to decision, then it's up to the judges. So it's always a tricky bet to make because it does depend on the judges at the end of the day. And one of them, it could be a clear 29-28, but one of those pricks could have 30-27, and then you don't cover your plus 3.5 because you lost by 4. So it's a very hairy thing. Jester likes Armin Rodolfo to go over 2.5 rounds. So I think what you're thinking there then is that Armin gets his way because Vieira's fights have finished inside the distance 5 of 6 times, but Petrosian fights have finished inside the distance 0 of 4 times. So you've got a decisionator in Petrosian going up against a finisher in Vieira. So if you're liking Armin Rodolfo to go over 2.5, then you probably like Armin to win the fight because I think you'd be holding your breath on the overs if Vieira got him down. But the data likes the overs here. You can see that the plus 160 for fight goes to decision is a trifecta bet on the template, as is the over 2.5. As is the fight starts round 2 at minus 250. And one bet that I want to point out to everybody before I go here, very interesting potential parlay piece this week. You don't see shit like this too often on my prop template, but it's the fight starts round 2 for Darius Flowers versus Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson has had 19 fights in the UFC since the year 2013 that were scheduled for 3 rounds. All 19 of those fights started round 2. So I really like the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight, but I think the way that I'm going to play it is that I'm going to play 2 units on the fight starts round 2, and I'm going to play 2.75 units on the fight doesn't go to decision. So if the fight finishes in round 1, I'm out 1 unit. If the fight goes to decision, I'm out 1.75 units. If the fight ends in round 2 or 3, I win 2 units. And I really like the fight doesn't go to decision. because I think Darius Flowers has the worst conditioning that I've seen in a long time. He's also cutting down to 155 pounds for the first time in his career. That's going to make him less durable as well, and more likely to gas out because that weight cut takes so much out of you anyway. So I think one of my big plays this week is going to be 2 units. Fight starts round 2 for the Johnson Flowers fight, and then also 2.75 units on the fight doesn't go to decision, so that I can win a unit on both of those bets if it ends in rounds 2 or 3. And my max loss would be 1.75. So it would be like a de facto plus money bet that the fight ends in round 2 or 3. So yeah, that's something I'm also looking at. I just wanted to point that out. It's very rare that you got a 20 fight sample size, even if the sample size is 19 from one fighter and 1 from the other. It's still very compelling that we're getting this at only 66.67%. So very interesting line there. David Dennett is in the room saying they opened Rodriguez significant strikes at 38.5. It's now 55.5. I personally debated Clark under significant strikes or over takedowns simply because how often he forces the clinch exchanges and tenacity to attempt, and not a fan of Pragnio's gas tank. And Pragnio's takedown defense is just okay as well. It's like in the 60%. So somebody like Clark who's attempting almost 10 takedowns per 15 minutes, if he's getting them at 30%, he covers that. If he gets them at 40%, he comfortably covers it. And Clark's not the best guy at, he's not like once Clark gets you down, you stay there for the rest of the round. He's not much of a submission threat. So you can give up your back and stand back up against this guy, which means that he's the kind of guy who can get more than one takedown in a round because you can get those mat returns. So I don't mind that at all, David. I think those are pretty good looks. Rodriguez, though, 55.5 significant strikes. That is a pretty big number. But you know what? Rodriguez is a high volume striker, though. If we look at the numbers, so Rodriguez 5.99 significant strikes landed per minute. So that's why that number bounced up so high. And Tavares is a fairly durable guy. His average fight time in the UFC is 12.91 minutes. Or I'm sorry, his average fight time in the UFC. Oh yeah, 12.91. And for Rodriguez, it's 7.7. So if you weight that, it's probably closer to 11 because you just have so many more minutes here, 232 to only 54 for Rodriguez. So yeah, I think you get 10 minutes. I think you're getting about 6 significant strikes per minute. But the problem is that Tavares doesn't absorb a lot. His fights have traditionally lower volume, only 3.12 significant strikes absorbed per minute by Brad Tavares over a huge sample size. So if this fight is fought at Tavares's pace, that 55 significant strikes never happens because that fight would need to go almost 20 minutes in order to hit that number. And we only got 15 minutes. So it depends on which one of these guys gets their pace, but Rodriguez is usually the one pressuring. And when he's the one pressuring, that's when he's trying to get off his big power shots. He throws in combination a lot. So yeah, the above average volume overall and at distance with the above average accuracy that you see here from Rodriguez, I could see why people were betting that over 38.5. I think I would have bet it too. We got Rouses saying, "Oi, Unc, for your $20 package, do you still plan on doing a probability video each week with Brady on for that package? Thanks for all the info you provide each week." Yeah, we were doing that on for free on what do you call it, the MMA Engine YouTube channel for a while, and the show was good. It was getting about 1,000 views a week, but our channel got demonetized because they're supposed to be sending out codes to me to monetize the channel, and they never came, and we were unable to monetize the channel. So we didn't want those analytics going out for free when I was charging $20 for that package. So yeah, what I'm going to do, and I mean, I don't know if Brady wants to be a part of it or not. But the plan is when I release the significant strike, takedown, and fantasy score templates for Prize Picks is to have some kind of content that goes along with that. And if Brady wants to do that, I would love to do it with him. But, you know, he's a busy dude. He does a shit ton of content on his own, and he's got a baby at home. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I'm willing to do like a probability show and do Patreon only content for the people that support. But as far as free content on YouTube, I don't want to be giving those stats out on YouTube for free to people who don't support me on the Patreon, because the amount of work that went into coding this mess here, you guys. I mean, it was an amazing amount of work. It was a heroic undertaking, and I'm almost done with it. I mean, look at this analytics page that I'm going to be providing with this package. 3-round over and under count. So this is all 4,821 3-round fights. You know, we can find significant striking data per minute overall and at distance. We got grappling metrics and control time striking per minute. You know, the divisional average, the winning fighter, the losing fighter, DFS work rates per minute for DraftKings, FanDuel, Prize Picks, Underdog, per fight statistics, so that you can, you know, use benchmarking. DFS scores by rounds of finish. You ever wonder, you know, what the average winner on Prize Picks scores in a first round win? Well, it's 122.18 points, and you would know that because you subscribe to this. So, yeah, man, I think that this is about as good as it's going to get. You know, I just need to add a couple more things here for analytics to feed the betting page, and it's done. You know, so I'm creating that betting page right now, and then I need the analytics and the database with that, and then the product just needs to be cloned for each division, have the divisional analytics embedded in it, and then it's done. It's going to be ready to go. So what I'm going to do is create a video on how to use it, and it'll be a marketing tool to get people to sign up for this new package. And yeah, the advanced stats package will be $15 a month. The DFS prop template betting package will be $25 a month. And if you could do the Prize Picks one, it includes everything else with it for $50 a month. That's the plan. Do I like Tavares finish only at plus 200? I think, you know, I mean, I think it's a sneaky play because Rodriguez is a chinny dude. And I think that Rodriguez is a guy who likes to pressure and get in that pocket and trade bombs until one man falls. But the problem with Tavares' finish only prop is he's just not finishing anybody. One of his 11 wins was a knockout. And he's got no submissions, you know, so this guy's got a 9% finish rate in 11 wins since 2013. So, I mean, I think I'd need more money than that. I think I'd need plus 250, plus 300 for that, because I think Tavares is the more durable dude, but I think Rodriguez hits a lot harder and he throws a lot more. And plus, he's only 32 while Tavares is 36. Story time. I don't know what story I would tell. I mean, I've told you guys a lot of stories, but like, what would be a good story to tell? I always think back to my college stories because I was just such an irresponsible idiot in college, and we just got into so much trouble and messed around so much. Went to Mardi Gras a couple of times, went to Memphis once. So one time, a bunch of Sigma Kappas, a sorority that was a couple of houses down from my fraternity house at Northern Illinois University, the Sigma Chi house, we're going to see the Grateful Dead in Tennessee, in Memphis, Tennessee. This would have been 1995. And they were getting they were going to drive down in like a big van, and then like a few of us were going to follow them in cars, try to get tickets to the show. But if not, we were going to party at the Beale Street Blues Festival, which was just about 3 blocks from the Pyramid Theater in Memphis, Tennessee. So we go to we drive down there, and we're driving my friend Pete's mom's car. We had never really driven that particular car before. There's 4 of us in the car, and we've got another car with 4 other fraternity brothers behind us. And Pete's asleep. It's his mom's car in the passenger seat. I'm in the back seat with my buddy Brian, and Angelo is driving. And Angelo starts feeling like there's something wrong with the car, dude. And he wakes up Pete. He's like, dude, and all of a sudden the car's not going anymore. So he pulls over. He's like, dude, what's wrong with your mom's car? And he's like, well, how much gas is in there? And he goes, quarter tank. Goes, oh, we're out of gas. We're like, what do you mean you're out of gas? It said a quarter tank. Goes, no, tank goes empty at a quarter. We're like, what? Dude, why didn't you tell us that? And he's like, well, I thought I did, but he didn't. And he was sleeping. So, it was nighttime, and we're in Arkansas at this point, and we're out of gas. And we're just stuck at the side of the road, but we got our buddies behind us. So while we're pulling over to the side of the road, we don't know what the hell is wrong with the car before we find out that we're out of gas with a quarter tank left on the gauge. We wave our buddies to tell them, hey, pull over. Something's wrong, And they just keep going. They passed us up. And we're like, what the why did they drive past? So now we're stuck on the side of the road. It's nighttime. It's Arkansas. There's nothing out there. And we're going to see a Grateful Dead show. So naturally there's drugs in the car. A lot of drugs in the car. And we're out of gas, and we're just stuck. And, this is 1995, you guys. There's no cell phones. We can't call our buddy and be like, dude, why did you fucking just drive past us? There's no cell phones. We're stuck in Arkansas with no gas. So my buddy Brian and I are like, well, we just passed the gas station, probably about 2-3 miles back. I guess we're walking, So we walk in the middle of the night to this gas station, and we weren't sure how far it was. And we are, walking on the shoulder of a 4-lane highway, 2 lanes in each direction. And it takes us about an hour to get to the gas station. And I don't know if you've ever been on the roads in Arkansas, but there's nutria in those trenches, so there's trenches for the roads, and there's a nutria is a giant rat. They're like 40-pound rats, and they are running, and they're mostly in between the expressway, but we're over on the side of the road walking towards traffic back towards the gas station that we passed. So we get there, we have to buy one of those cans, one of those 3-gallon cans, fill it up with gas. And then Brian and I are like, all right, I guess we got another hour-long walk, and we got to hope that we don't get attacked by any 40-pound rats while we're walking down, the interstate with a giant thing of gas, while these clowns are waiting for us on the side of the road for us to get back. And so as we're filling up the gas can, just 2 of us standing at the pump with the can that we just bought, up drives a state trooper. And he pulls up at the other gas tank, and Brian and I look at each other, and he goes, dude, should we ask that state trooper for a ride? I'm like, what, back to our car that's full of drugs? No, dude, we shouldn't. He goes, okay, so I guess we'll just walk and deal with the giant rats, huh? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, dude, this is Arkansas. These dudes are not going to be cool. This is probably a really bad idea. And he's like, dude, I'm not walking another 2-3 miles back to this car at night on an interstate. He goes, this is what these guys are here for. We're going to ask them for a ride. And at this point, I'm kind of like, all right, because I don't have any drugs on me, so if we get back to the car, I've got plausible deniability, it could have been somebody else's drugs, whatever. So my buddy Brian's like, he walks up to the cop and he's like, hey, we're out of gas. We're down the road south about 2-3 miles. We were wondering if you could give us a ride back to our car because it's a long walk. It's night and these nutria are out here. He goes, yeah, them some big rats. And then he looks at us and he goes, so what you guys got? You guys got one of them 3,000-mile gas tanks? And he was busting our balls for being dumb enough to run out of gas, and we didn't want to tell him the story, but it's my buddy's mom's car, none of that stuff. We didn't want to add any details to it. We were just like, yeah, we're stupid. We just ran out of gas. What are you gonna do? He's like, all right, get in the back. So we got the gas can. He puts us in the back. And obviously we can't get out now, because the cop, if you've ever been in the back of a cop car, you can't just walk out whenever you feel like it. So this guy pulls up to where we're at. He pulls in back of our car. And then, like, as soon as I see him pull in back of our car, I see Pete and Angelo are in the car. Like, why the hell are the cops here? So that I could tell they're freaking out. Right. And the cop pulls up, gets out of the car. And instead of letting me and Brian out with the gas, he walks up to the car and he starts like looking around the car. And Brian and I are looking at each other in the back of the cop car being like, oh Christ, why didn't he let us out? And this guy is not talking to Angelo or Pete. He's just walking around the car, looking inside, starts asking Pete and Angelo questions. And we don't know what the hell he's asking them because we can just tell he's talking to him, but he left us in the car. We're locked in there. So eventually he comes back and then he's like, y'all people need to be more careful around here. You get stuck on the side of the road out here, bad things can happen, And we're like, thank you so much for the ride, sir. And he let us go, man. He just drove off. We put gas in the car. We drove the rest of the way to Memphis. And we said, when we get there, the dude that was driving, his name was Matt. We were like, we're going to find this dude and we're going to beat the piss out of him for driving past us. And long story short, like, he thought when we were waving him over to the side of the road, like telling him to pull over, he was like, I thought you were telling me to speed up. And I was like, what the hell why would we tell you to speed up while we were pulling over to the side of the road? What sense would that make? We got stuck out there for nothing. But that happened to be the weekend. That was the first time I ever tried acid. It was at a Grateful Dead show. The Dead show was sold out. There was no way to get in there. There were about 5,000 people who wanted to get into the show who couldn't because there weren't enough tickets. And what happened was people charged the gates of the Pyramid Theater and ran over the security guards. And I'd say about 400 to 500 people got into the show without tickets. Some of my friends actually got in without having to pay and got to watch that show. But most of us couldn't wind up getting in there. So we went to the Beale Street Blues Festival, tripping balls, walking up and down Beale Street. We went into BB King's. We saw a lot of great blues acts that were out there on the street jamming, and we had the best time drinking, partying in Memphis. While our friends were at the show, it was just a great college road trip. I'd never seen the Grateful Dead before. I didn't get to see them that night, but I got to see the Beale Street Blues Festival, tripping balls, getting to tell people about the story about how we almost got busted on the side of the road for having drugs in the car by an Arkansas state cop because we ran out of gas while the gas gauge said a quarter tank left. So appreciate you guys. That is story time with Uncle Weezy for this week. Thanks for reminding me, Jester, that I got to tell some stories every once in a while, man. We got David Dennett saying, also hate Bry's style and tape. If Ihor looks good at weigh-ins, I think I'll take the bait. Britchek's going to have to land a nuke. And as you've mentioned, Ihor looked a lot better last time out. I think he's training the ATT. It said on ESPN.com that he was an American top team. So if he's there, he's going to be getting better. And he's still young. He's been training MMA since the age of 15. He's got some natural power. And he had a great fight last time out against Bellato. So if he does make that weight, that plus money on Ehor is going to be kind of interesting this week. And the line is coming in a little bit. Yeah. I haven't seen anyone with the kind of content you do, Unc, anywhere. One of a kind stuff. Appreciate you, man. You got there. You got the little rats there. Yeah, man. Rats and drugs to the boats and hose theme. Yeah, man. Totally. He didn't beg me. He offered me to come on there and shut down my Patreon and bring all my people over there, and he would give me half of what I brought over, and it's just, why would I take half from you when I could get 100% directly from the people who are already supporting the work that I work so hard to provide? So yeah, man. Yeah, so not doing that. Your Uncle Weezy's always a free agent and he works for himself. Do I have DK projections yet? I created this handy little sheet here today, you guys. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. So what this is this has the offensive stats per minute of all the fighters. So you know that Jeremiah Wells has the best work rate. Gregory Rodriguez second best. And this is how many points per DraftKings points per minute they score. This is how many points they score per fight. This is how many points they score per win. This is their bonus points per win. And this is their points scored per loss. So this is like offensive per minute information. This is offensive per fight information. This is defensive per minute information of all the fighters. This is defensive per fight information. And this is offensive and defense added together to kind of give you an idea whose fights score higher, whose fights have more pace, have more scoring, and whose score less. And this is just a good way to kind of like, and you can sort it by a bunch of different things. You could sort it by who does the most grappling, so you could go like this, sort and filter, custom sort, grappling work rate per minute, largest to smallest. And you're going to see there that Jeremiah Wells is number one. He scores 2.63 grappling points per minute. Vieira scoring 1.92. Clark scoring 1.41. Rodriguez 1.24. Pyfer 1.23. And all the way down to like Marcin Prachnio only scores about 0.07 points per minute grappling. And he allows, we got Prachnio here. We can see that he allows one of the higher grappling work rates of 1.06 points per minute. So we know that Devin Clark is scoring 3.68 and 2.27 of that is striking, 1.41 is grappling. So I think that, for instance, Devin Clark's going to have a good chance to score some points. So yeah, I think, Devin Clark will have a good chance to score some points because he scores in the grappling and because Prachnio absorbs, he definitely gives up a lot of points in the grappling, but I don't have my own DraftKings projections yet. I don't have an equation that does that, but I do have the data possible and the Excel spreadsheet skill making, or the spreadsheet ability to be able to put together projections, but I need to kind of study how those projections are created. And by the way, ring a ding ding, you guys. First donation of the week, $2 from my guy Matt R. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to do my own DraftKings projections, but I should be able to do that pretty soon. Hallucinogenic of choice, I would say these days would have to be mushrooms. It would have to be mushrooms, but every time I took acid, man, I had the best time. So many great acid stories from college. I mean, we would do it rarely, but when we did, shit would hit the fan and we'd just laugh our asses off and have so much fun, like these great adventures every single time, man. I truly loved doing that back in the day, but I'm an old man now. So if I was to do something, and I would be very, very infrequently, it would definitely be mushrooms. I could do a lot with this, Wheeze, says Matt R. Yeah, well, man, that's why you join the Patreon and you'll get access to this, because all these DFS stats I think are really fantastic. and could really help people that are multi-entering tournaments. But I got to come up with some new tools, in order to make that happen. But there's a bunch of places where you could get a good optimizer, but I don't think there's a lot of places where you could get this detailed metrics and stats, not only by fighter, but by division. So yeah, you could base the projections on those stats and the prop odds. Yeah, like the inside the distance prop, the first round prop, the money line. Yeah, that's how you would probably finish this off. Yeah, understood. I'm going to build something like that, obviously, going forward for anybody that would want those kind of DFS stats. No, basically what they said was, because it's $10 a month for their site. I mean, you get everything for $10 a month. What they were saying was everybody that you bring here, they'll pay $10 a month and we'll give you 5 of that. So like basically, because I was already charging 10 for my stats package at the time, I was like, oh, okay. So I bring everybody over there and now I only make half of it. And then you're saying that because I'm bringing them to your site that I'm going to be able to bring more people there because they would be able to use the We Want Picks site. So that's basically what they offered me. They were saying, you'll be getting half of what you were getting, but you'll be able to bring more people in because their website is so good, is what they were telling me. Now, I haven't seen the website, but like I say, I'm a one-man show over here. Brady and I work together. We do Stat Diggers together. We do the DFS show together. And we've done a lot of other shows like Probability. We've done main event breakdowns together. But like curating all the stats, that's all me. That's something this is something that's just been a passion project of mine for a very long time. So, all of this stuff that I've organized and programmed, it's a lot of work that's went into it. So I'd like to be the one that creates the products that that people benefit from, and then that way I can potentially make a living off of just doing what I love to do, which is curating these stats and using my math mind and my investing background to figure out how to create products that could identify value in the markets. So we got RJ's MMA in the room. Say, hey, Uncle, how are you, man? Doing good, man. Just answering questions from my folks here on Ask Weezy. Yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, like I politely declined. It is what it is. But when I don't know who it was. It might have been you, Matt, that told me yesterday. Did they mention me by name? Because I've heard them say before when they first offered me to come over. I remember I watched a couple of their shows, and they would say shit like, there are people out there that have a Patreon that'll charge you $20 a month, and all they send you is a spreadsheet. And I was like, fuck, are they talking about me? Did they just offer me to bring people over there and then they're talking shit about me the next day? But they never mentioned me by name. And there's a lot of other people that I'm sure give out spreadsheets. So I was just like, you know what? But somebody came in here yesterday and said that they were throwing shade at me and they were using my name. And that pisses me off because those guys have got 10 times as many subscribers as I have. They've got a website that's got so many more people than my Patreon has. My little Patreon's got like 64 people on it. So if they're doing so well, if their product is so fucking great, why the hell do they have to mention my Patreon? Why do they have to throw shade at me? Because I'm like 1/10 of the size of everything that they're bringing in. So I wonder if not by name. Oh, okay. Videos of spreadsheet. Okay, all right, yeah. See, all right, but I've heard them do that before. I thought that they had mentioned me by name, and that pissed me off because they shouldn't be mentioning me by name. I understand that they're throwing shade at my product and they're saying $20 a month for a spreadsheet, whatever. That's fine, but I don't want them mentioning my fucking name because they asked me to come and give me their data. So if my Patreon's so shitty, why are you fucking contacting me on Twitter, scheduling a call and asking me to bring my data over there? So that's what pissed me off yesterday. So yeah, man. We've got AJ saying, I've got a juicy 6-leg parlay that I'd like your confirmation. Marcos money line, Protest money line, Hobo Cop money line, Ige money line, Trocian money line, over 2.5 for the main event. Hope all is good, my man. All right, so I like Marcos to win. I like Protest to win. I like Hobocop to win. He's the Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I'm picking Ige to win. I'm picking Vieira to beat Petrosian. I hate Petrosian's takedown defense. And once Vieira gets on top, he's got a crushing top game. And the over 2.5 for the main event, it's a little bit risky, but the data likes it because Hermansson, and I think that Hermansson's a guy that's not going to just sit in the pocket and trade with fucking Pyfer. I think he's going to grind this out. I think it's going to be a grinding fight, and I think it probably does go over 2.5. But yeah, man, that was I like 5 of those 6 legs, but the last 2 legs, the paid Petrosian money line and the over 2.5, are my least favorite of the 6. But my pick is that 5 of those 6 hit. And ring a ding ding, you guys. David Dennett with the $2 donation saying, appreciate the content. Favorite fight ever. Man, favorite fight ever. Like, I remember like some of the fights that got me into MMA. Like when I saw Scott Smith versus Pete Sell. That was an amazing fight. Where Sell was beating 7 shades of shit out of Smitty, and Smitty came back and knocked him out with 1 punch. Robbie Lawler versus Melvin Manhunt. I mean, like those fights where somebody is just dead and then they come back from the dead and they get a win like that you just could never ever picture them getting. Let's see. What are some modern classics? Like there were some fun, dude. You know what? The 3 fights that Hader Emil had in LFA were just fucking phenomenal. Where is it? Well, let me see here. Here we go. Hobson Jr., Devontae Sewell, Chase Gibson, all 3 of those fights were incredible. This guy Hader Emil is a super fun fight. Let's see, Quarantillo. Any Billy Quarantillo fight I love. Any Jonathan Pierce fight I love. Anthony Hernandez versus Rodolfo Vieira is an amazing fight. I loved that fight. I lost so much money on that fight, but watching Anthony Hernandez submit a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt world champion, I mean, it was phenomenal. Lost so much money on that too, but still, I mean, it was a great fight, man. I mean, like my favorite fight, you know, from recent memory would probably be Anthony Hernandez up against Rodolfo Vieira, even though I lost a ton of money on it. That's a great question, that. Let's see here. Bro, websites aren't even that hard to build on Squarespace. David just had to 1 cent up me. Yeah, he did. We got Jordan Sandberg in the room saying, hope you're doing good, Weezy. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, Matt R saying, not by name, but it was clear that was about you. They brought up guys who showed. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I remember when I first talked about them, or when I first talked to Angelo on the phone about, you know, because he said he had an offer for me. So I listened to him, you know, and I said no. But yeah, then I remember watching their content and being like, yeah, they're fucking talking about me, but they weren't saying my name, so I didn't talk about it at all. But like when if it was you, Matt, that came in here yesterday and said that they're throwing shade at you, I thought that they were actually using my name, and I'm like, that's fucking unacceptable. Not that I know of by name. Yeah. They're super shady. They constantly use their own staff to give fake super chats and fake comments, so saying how much money they made with them. Really? Do they do that? I mean, I don't watch their because when I started watching their show, I mean, I realized that like it's just a marketing thing. It's a marketing thing for the website. So while it's a good show and it's produced really well, and I think that Angelo and JT have got a good rapport. I think they're funny together. I think they put on a fucking good show. But like every 10 minutes, it's like join the website. And then when they're telling people to join the website, they're not just talking about why you should join their website. They're basically talking shit about everybody else that has something to offer in this space, saying, why would you bother with any of these guys? And it's just like, look, stop fucking talking shit about all the people that work hard in this space. If your product is so good, you don't need to put other people down in order to promote it. That's not how it works. If your product's good, just promote it for what the benefits are of the product. You don't have to try to tear everyone else down around you. That's what made me mad. And that's why I can't watch their content anymore, because I know that they're, throwing shade at everybody else that works so fucking hard in this space. And 90% of us don't have a crew of 5 fucking people behind us building websites, doing graphics. I mean, everything that you see here on my little humble show is something that's right here on my computer on spreadsheets that I've created in my free time while I sit here watching tape on 28 fighters every single week. So yeah, man, it pisses me off. It pisses me off. I get you. Had confirmation by the man himself. Really? By you were talking about yeah, that's right. On the parlay, right? I hear you, man. Those 2 clowns anyway. Easy. Been trying to people for a while. Sorry for beating a dead horse. No, it's no problem, man. No problem at all. Matt Schnell versus the Chinese guy. That was a great fight. Sumaderji, Matt Schnell was an amazing fight. Great comeback win for Matt Schnell in that one. We want picks are lame. I can never enjoy their show because they always talk down on each other. Yeah, they do that a lot too. They kind of bust each other's balls a lot. I mean, but I still think that they got a good rapport. I think they're funny together. It's just all the marketing and the talking shit about others. Just I can't watch it anymore. I joined a year ago and Angelo cursed me out and banned me from Discord for telling him I had login issue. Wow. Okay. Jesus. That's fucking rough. Where do you watch all the tape on each fighter? Is it the tape index? Yes, sir. It is the tape index. Do I have it up here right now? No, I don't. But I do use the MMA Play. I've been there for 2 years. Let me see. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I always use. So and it's pretty fucking good, it's pretty reliable. They stay ahead, and I'm gonna start taping the next event tonight after we're done with Ask Weezy. UFC 298. And we got some debuting fighters on this card. We got the main cards, all veterans, Whitaker versus TBA. We got Dvalishvili Cejudo, Neal versus Gary. But then it's going to be Danny left-handed God Barlow versus Quinlan. And then we got Brenson Ribeiro versus Minyang Zhang and and Hernandez Kopylov. I can't wait to tape that, man. That's going to be so awesome. Rinya Nakamura versus Carlos Vera. That's going to be fun. Val Woodburn versus Oban Elliott. I'll probably start there tonight. I want to watch Oban Elliott. He was so fun against Kike Brito on Contender Series. So I'm looking forward to that one, man. But that's where I watch the tape. All tape indexes for the most part is UFC Fight Pass and YouTube. Yeah. And then they've got some other ones. There's some MMA Core. There's some Facebook videos. Then there's some Yoku as well. So they do a pretty decent job of pulling from a few different sources. But it could be improved, and ESPN Plus for recent fights, right? I like Jacob. Jacob is actually funny and nice. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that they got a good show. They do a good show. Barlow's reach and quickness should be too much for Quinlan. That line will move for sure. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of people. I know. I remember Barlow just being ridiculously long. Like, whoa, dude, this dude is super long, and I know he's got a ton of power, and I think a lot of first round knockouts, if I'm not mistaken. So that will be a lot of fun to watch for sure. I can see you actually love MMA, my man. That's what puts you above all others, in my opinion. I really appreciate that. Those are very kind words. And yeah, dude, there's no way I could do what I do if I hated watching fights, or if watching fights was a chore, because this is all I do, really. It's a lot of work, man, a ton of it, but it's better than sitting selling something for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many shit jobs out there. When you work for yourself, at least you get to, do things your own way, follow your own dreams, and try to gamble on yourself, on your abilities. J Book saying Quinlan struggled with his last fight. Trey Waters 74-inch reach. Barlow has an 80-inch reach. Jeez, Trey Waters only has a 74-inch reach. That dude's like 6'2". Wow, 80-inch reach on somebody that light. That's crazy. We got J Books. Jordan, how is your cousin? Saying, and he's laughing, man. Listen, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to get out of here for the night. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the donations. Always good answering questions for you guys. The prize picks play of the week that we put together. Devin Clark, less than 45.5 significant strikes. Hader Emil, more than 54.5 significant strikes. And Jeremiah Wells, more than 1.5 takedowns. 3-legger, 1 unit wins 5. Let's take a shot on that one. Appreciate you guys. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done that already. And I will be back on Friday to do a greasy 4-leg parlay for you guys. And then Saturday, we're going to be watching UFC Vegas 86. I'm looking forward to these fights. I'm looking forward to stacking cash tickets like flapjacks. God bless each and every one of you guys. And we'll see you on Friday after the weigh-ins for the greasy 4-leg parlay. Let's get it, you guys. Enjoy the fights, and we'll see you Friday.